Okay, so here's the answers to those last three. Okay, next, we're just going to multiply some fractions. Same problem, we're going to do it 2 different times, show you 2 different ways to do it, and then we're going to carry this over into the stuff with the algebraic expressions. Okay, so when we multiply fractions, first thing we can do is go straight across the top, and I get 8. Straight across the bottom, I get 72. And then we're going to reduce that. What will it reduce to? 1 over 9. Okay? The other way to do this is to cross-cancel or reduce. And when you are cross-canceling, that's basically reducing anything on the top and the bottom, whether it's the same fraction or different fractions. Here, I can take the 4 and the 8, divide them both by 4. It's going to give me a 1 here and a 2 here. But then, within that same fraction, the 2 on the top and the 2 on the bottom, divide both of those by 1. And now the only thing I have left to multiply on the top is 1 times 1 gives me 1. On the bottom, 1 times 9 gives me 9. Same answer, 2 different ways. Okay, how many of y'all like to cross-cancel? Okay, any of you hate to cross-cancel? Okay, cross-canceling with the numbers here sometimes gets a little bit busy because you're marking things out and putting new numbers, especially if you cancel things more than once. With the expressions, it's not that bad, and I think you're going to like it there. So there are 2 more here for us to do. Okay, and I'm going to do them both by cross-canceling. For the 2/3 times 5/8, what can I cross-cancel with? 2 and the 8. I can divide both of those by 2. So now when I multiply across the top, I get 5. Across the bottom, I get 12. Okay, on the bottom, we can cross-cancel more than once, or more than one place anyhow. Where do y'all want to reduce or cross-cancel? 12 and 8. Okay, what can I divide both of those by? 4, so that'll give me a 2 here and a 3 here. Can I simplify, reduce, cross-cancel anything else? Okay, what can I divide both of those by? So that's going to give me a 2 here and a 1 here. So on the top, I have 2 times 3 is 6. On the bottom, 1 times 7 is 7. Okay? So at this point, we're going to combine the factoring concept we did in the last one with the cross-canceling we just talked about here. Okay? So it says to find the product and state all restrictions. You have to do these in a certain order or you lose part of your restrictions. Okay, the very first thing you want to do is factor everything, the top and the bottom of both fractions. All right, so once you get it factored, double check yours with mine, make sure you factored correctly. And now we're not going to cancel things yet. We have to state our restrictions before we cancel anything. So this is where I'm going to look at all of the factors in the denominator. And I'm going to have my x minus 5 can't equal 0, x plus 3 can't equal 0, and x plus 1 can't equal 0. So that means that x cannot be 5, -3, or -1. Okay, questions so far? And now, step 3, we're going to cancel like factors in pairs. And we're going to look at all of the numerators and all the denominators. So, if I start with my first numerator, I've got an x plus 3 that will cancel with an x plus 3 over here. Then I have an x minus 5 and another x minus 5 that will cancel. Do I have anything else that's the same? No. So now I want to go ahead and multiply. So on the top, I'm going to have x minus 2 times x plus 5 over x plus 1. Now, sometimes it's fine to leave it just like this, and MathXL will, I think, give you instructions on which way they want you to leave it. For me, if you've got 2 terms to multiply, go ahead and do it. If you've got 3 terms or more than that, just leave it factored. Okay, so for this one, if I multiply this, I'm going to end up with x squared plus 3x minus 10 over x plus 1, with x not equal to 5, negative 3, and negative 1. Okay, so can you see if we had canceled first, would we have been able to get all of these restricted values? No. That's why we have to find those before we cancel. All right, I've got one for you to try here in just a minute. So I'm going to let you go ahead and try this one. I'm going to pause the video and then I'm going to work it while you guys are working it, and then, we'll come back and you can check yours. Okay. All right, so if you want to check it and make sure you've got it factored correctly before you go past there. And then I've also got my restricted values done. I'm going to give y'all just a second to get caught up to here, and then I want to cancel this together to make sure we cancel the right parts. Remember, when you cancel, you have to cancel them in pairs, top and bottom. So I can cancel this x minus 4 with this x minus 4. I can cancel this x plus 4 and this x plus 4. What about these? I've got a pair of them. Can I cancel them? No, because they're not one top and one bottom. So at this point, everything else has got to stay. So I get 2 times x plus 1 over x plus 4 times x plus 4. Because it's just 2 factors, let's go ahead and multiply this. And there you go. So here's your dividing fractions review. In order to divide fractions, I call it KCF, keep, change, flip. That's the same thing as saying multiply by the reciprocal. But here's all you're going to do. You're going to keep the first fraction the same, change it to multiply, flip the second one upside down, and now it's just a multiplication problem. So like I said, if you can multiply fractions, you can divide fractions. It's not that big a deal. We can cross cancel here. 3 goes in here 1 and 5 times. And then I can cross cancel with the 2 and the 8. So my final answer is just 5 over 4. Alright, so now let's take a look at this one. The restrictions for this is a little bit more complicated. So here we go. If we're going to divide these fractions, let's take a look at the top of this one. Is that written in standard form? Yes. 2 minus x is standard form?
X minus 2 is standard form.
But my 2 is positive and my x is negative. So I'm going to rewrite it this way. Okay, and I'm going to do that before I do anything else. Okay, everything else is already in standard form, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. So now step 1 is going to be to factor everything. So factor the top and the bottom. It's still a division problem. I'm going to factor the top of the next fraction. And now, before I do the keep, change, flip, or the Kentucky Fried Chicken, KCF, we're going to do the restrictions. So my restrictions are going to be -1 and +1. Yep. So does anybody need me to go back and show you where these came from? Are y'all good on the restrictions at this point? Okay. Now that we've decided about the restrictions, now go ahead and keep, change, flip. Now, when I flip that, don't I end up with some new stuff on the bottom? Mm-hmm. So that means I have some new restrictions. So my additional restrictions will be x cannot equal -5 and +2. So now, let's cancel stuff. I can cancel my x minus 2's. I can't cancel anything else. So I get -1 times x minus 1 over x plus 1 times x plus 1 times x plus 5. Because there's 3 factors there, I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to multiply it. You can multiply the top if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay, if you're not doing the bottom, you don't have to do the top. But your restricted values, we need to list them all. They are ±1, -5, and 2. All right, questions? All right, then that is it for this section.